after the meeting. Okay, so welcome everybody to this masterclass all about star children. So I decided to do this little masterclass because I know most of you out here that are watching this will be parents, and you'll be, keen to have more insight into your children, which I'm a great believer that as soon as a child is born, that people should be handed their astrology chart, their child's astrology chart, so they can know exactly what they've produced. Because, children like us, we've all chosen our lives before we're born. We've all chosen what we're going to come here to experience, to grow through, to learn, and to be. And so, as much as we would like our children to grow up and be what we would like them to be, or, what we think is best for them, they've already chosen their own journey. So this is really important, I think, when working with astrology and with your children, is allowing them to be who they've come to be. There's no point in trying to make a mathematician out of an artist. If they've come in here to be creative or do whatever, but you would like them to be more academic, and that's just not them, there's just no point in trying to push them down that road that's just not going to fit them. They're always going to be happier when they're allowed to be who they truly are. And I have a theory that that what children do in play up until around about the age of 8 is exactly what they're meant to do in the future as their career, because children only gravitate to what they're good at and what they enjoy, and which should be what we all do as our careers later in life. We should not be going to work every day just to earn money. We should be going to work every day because we enjoy what we do and because we've got something to share with others. And so children in their play when they're very young will only do what they like. And that's, how we should be. So if you do have younger children under the age of 8, or you can remember if your children are older and you can remember what they were like under the age of 8, just have a think about that and see if they're doing what they're doing as a job now, or whether they've evolved into what they used to be, or whether they've changed completely. But usually they'll sort of stick to what they used to be in some way. I do find, though, that often, when we get to our teenage years, what we used to think was really fun, if it's not cool, we'll go off and do something else. And so that can change a little bit then. But usually what you'll find is once that child becomes an adult and gets to their 20s or 30s, they'll start stepping into that energy again and coming back to what they're really supposed to do and be in this lifetime. So we don't choose to have children. Children choose us. So, a lot of people out there sort of think, well, I'm going to turn 30, and when I'm 30, I'll have my first child, and then when I'm 33, I'll have the second one, or whatever it might be. And you've got this big plan about how it's going to work and all fit into place. And, you can absolutely have that plan, but the thing is, the children are going to choose you, and they're going to come when they're ready to. And, they're choosing to come to you for two very, very specific reasons. The reason a child chooses you to be their parent is firstly for your DNA, and secondly for the experience that you're going to give them by being their parent. So, there's all these souls sort of floating around up in the ethers, up in the spirit world, and they're just looking for the right people to allow them to have the life that they need to have to evolve as a soul. Because we're all reincarnating lifetime after lifetime, and every lifetime is a learning experience. It's when we actually get to experience things, go through things, do things, so that we can learn from them and turn into and allow them to develop us in some way. So, everything is chosen before you're born. Sorry, just let someone else in. So if everything's chosen before you're born, you've got a plan in hand. And so, of course, after choosing your parents, you're going to want to choose your star sign, because your star sign is what is the lens that you're going to see the rest of your life through, or the whole of your lifetime through, has that particular lens that is created by that star sign. So, when we're choosing our parents before we're born, we're choosing them, like I said, for their DNA and for the experience that they're going to give us. So, for instance, you might be a soul, your soul might be choosing you, or you, when you were choosing your life, and you might have had many, many lifetimes of living in affluence, lots and lots of lifetimes of having lots and lots of money. And so you've learned everything there is to learn about money. You know what it's like to have lots of it, what to do with it, how to grow through it. You've had all of those experiences of abundance. And so you decide, okay, in this lifetime, I want to know what it's like to be in a lifetime or live a life where I've got nothing, where I have to scrape for every sort of cent that I make, that life is a real struggle for me in every way, because your soul needs that experience. Because your soul, lifetime after lifetime, it's coming here to go through and experience things, to learn. And so, for instance, if you wanted to learn to be a builder, or a carpenter, you could every day you could read books on it, you could watch videos on it, you could listen to people talking about building, you could look at all the tools and imagine it all. And that is absolutely, you can learn in that way. But really, until you pick up that hammer and hit that nail, you've got no idea what you're talking about or no idea what you're doing, because we have to experience things to truly know them. And this is why the soul is looking for all different experiences in every lifetime, so it can continue to grow and evolve, no matter where it is or who it's with. So when you're choosing that lifetime, and like I said, you've had lots of affluent lives and you want to know what it's like to be born into poverty, you would choose to, you could choose many different things. You might choose to be born into sort of the slums of India, or to, somewhere, a nation or a country where there is a lot of poverty, where it's very common for people to be poor and not to have enough, have a lot. And that would be the learning of that experience you would go through there. Or you could choose to learn what it's like to be very poor in poverty in a very affluent society, where you're one of the few people that doesn't have a lot of money. And that would be another experience that you're going to go through. So when you're choosing your life or your parents, you decide, first of all, on the DNA. So you're looking at your mum and the person you want to be your mother and the person you want to be your father. And you're looking at the DNA that they've got and what you want to inherit, so that you can have this life using those talents and those gifts that you've inherited from your biological parents. And then you're also looking for the experience that they're going to give you. So if we use that example of wanting it to have a life of poverty, you might, choose these parents. You've got the DNA down pat. You know exactly who you want and what, why you want them. But they might actually be in a situation in their lives at the time that you want to come through and be born, of having a lot of money. Perhaps in this lifetime, their journey is to have lots of money and then lose everything and have to start again or start from scratch. And this is what you need to come in for. You're not interested in what it's like for them to have lots of money. You've already done that. You're going to come in when they've got no money. So they might be deciding that it's time for us to have a baby, and they're doing all the things that people do when they want to have babies. And you're watching this and knowing that, yes, I'm the right soul for these people. These are going to be my parents, but they're too wealthy right now. I'm not going to have the experience that I need. And so you wait in the spirit world until they come to that time in their life where they're in that position, so that then you can jump in and you're going to have the experience that you need to have as a soul on a journey through that lifetime. So what can happen is that once the soul has chosen the parents, the soul has got 3 months to decide, once it enters the mother's womb, whether this is the right time, the right place, and or the right parents. And they've got 3 months to decide. So those 3 months we look at on the earth plane as the 3 months in which you can have a miscarriage, or the 3 months in which you can have a termination or an abortion. And if you do miscarry or have a termination or an abortion within that 3 month period, that is 85% the choice of the soul of the baby. The baby has decided it's not going to learn what it needs to learn. It's not going to have the experience that it needs to experience if it's born right now, right here, to these particular parents. And so it's taking itself back to spirit. So if any of you out there have had miscarriages or abortions or terminations, please be very, very aware that that was a decision made primarily by the baby. The baby was not ready. And that baby will usually always wait with you in the spirit world until the situation changes, until you've got, using that scenario, until that time comes when you've got no money and you're super poor. Probably the last thing you need is a baby at that stage, but that's when the baby's going to come through, because that's the experience that it wants and it needs to grow and to evolve. So once the soul is born and on the earth plane, it also has 3 months to decide, right time, right place, right parents. And if it's not going to learn what it needs to learn and have the experiences it needs to have had to experience, again, it will take itself back to spirit. And these are usually your cot deaths and any other sudden deaths that happen to children in those first 3 months. And it could be, to be more involved, they could include something like maybe the baby's going to die from a rare genetic disease. So in that instance, the baby's still not ready for the right experience, but it's also through the experience of coming into this lifetime and having to pass over within those first 3 months, it is teaching people around it about that genetic illness. And so it's able to sort of bring learning and education to everybody around it, as well as itself during the journey. Because as I see it, the world and the way we live, we're like a giant cobweb where everything that you do has this sort of vibration that affects other people, like the fluttering of a cobweb in the breeze, or when you just touch a cobweb and it has that vibration. And that's what we're constantly doing, is we're constantly moving and vibrating and connecting with other people. And so everything that we do then affects everybody else around us. So, if a soul is going to choose it to come into this lifetime and then leave at 3 months or maybe even a little bit later, it's very much doing that, not just for its own learning, but for the learning of everybody around it as well. So when the soul has decided who it's going to be born to, oh, and by the way, if you're adopted or if you have a child and put it out for adoption or something like that you've happened in your lifetime, basically what that means is the soul chose the biological parents for the DNA and the adopted parents for the experience. And also because the soul's thinking, oh, what's it like to be adopted? I've never been adopted before. That's not a lifetime I've lived before or something I've had the experience or come to understand. So I'm going to, I'm going to see what that's like. What's it like to be adopted? And so it's a choice of the soul to go through that experience. So everything that your children choose to go through and do in this lifetime is their own choice. It's the choices they've made before they were born so they can learn, so they can evolve and so they can grow. And they've chosen you as their parent to help them with that. So, sorry, excuse me. So most up until around about the age of 6 to 8 years old, your children have 1 foot in the spirit world and 1 foot in the real world. And around about 6 to 8, they ground themselves fully. So this is why children are often, what they play and do in those younger years is very much reenacting a lot of their past lives. Again, they're gravitating to what they're good at, what they enjoy, and what's familiar to them. Because your soul remembers every lifetime you've ever had. It's just got no idea of chronological order. So it's got no idea what might be appropriate when it's not. So it's very easy for us to get stuck in past life energy. So it's actually a little thing you can do if you've got children or grandchildren who are sort of under the age of 6 or 8. And if you're one of these people that like to read a story to children at night, next time you do that, ask them to tell you a story instead. And the chances are they'll recap a whole past life they've had with some experience they've had. It won't be just, it'll seem like it's their imagination, but really it's something that they have experienced and that they know from another lifetime. And therefore that's what they're telling you about and what they're reviewing for you to know about. And that can help you get a bit more insight into your children or grandchildren and know, a little bit more about what they've come from and what they're here for, just by listening to their story and how they tell it and what they're interested in. Okay, so after a soul has chosen their parents, of course, the next thing they're going to do is choose what star sign they're going to come here under. And as your star sign becomes your sun sign, becomes the lens in which you view the world. And that's how you look at it from that perspective. So the first sign of the zodiac is Aries. So has anybody got any Arian or children or grandchildren? Just pop your hand up. Okay, so Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So Aryan children or Aryan people in general like to come first. They're usually very competitive, very outgoing people and very independent. So Aryan children, if they're born younger than their siblings, can often have an issue with their older brother or sister because subconsciously they believe that the number one position in the family of the siblings should belong to them because they're Aryans and Aryans come first. So they can struggle a bit with their older brothers and sisters. So have you found that, Lisa or Maggie, with your children or grandchildren? No? They get on well? Good. And what about you, Lisa?
Reasonably so. Yeah, I mean, my because I've got twin girls. So, that they often say we know you love him more than us. It's always all about Lucas.
Yeah.
Last couple of years it has been.
How many minutes are between your twins?
It's about 2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours. That's great.
Yeah.
Because the planets move in relation to each other every 4 minutes. So in the olden days, it used to be very normal for twins to be born at least half an hour between each other because most of the births then were natural.
Yes.
But nowadays, often they're born by cesarean section. So pull one out, pull the other one out. There's very little time between each child. And so there's very, very different. When you look at their astrology charts, there's very little difference. But with 2 hours between them, yours should be quite significantly different.
Yeah. The one was natural and then one was cesarean.
Right. Yeah. So they'll be quite different in personality to some degree. There'll absolutely be similarities, but there'll be those different things as well. Yeah. So Aryan children, because it's the first sign of the zodiac, they're very driven. And Aryans can actually swing between being incredibly driven and incredibly lazy. The couch is always good for them as well. But being the first sign of the zodiac, they like to come first. They can usually be quite competitive people, and they're very good at standing on their own 2 feet. So they really often don't want a lot of fuss or being helped a lot. They like to do things their own way and have their own independence in how they see things. And Aries is the first fire sign of the zodiac, so it's a leadership sign. So Arians, there's 3 leadership signs of the zodiac: Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So and they each lead in different ways. So Arians lead, it's my way or the highway. It's very difficult to get an Arian to change their mind or to look at things differently. So the big life lesson and a great way to bring up Arian children is to get them to really understand that to put themselves in other people's shoes, because it's not something that comes naturally to them. And it's not that they don't care about other people or they're not nice people or anything like that. It's just simply they're very self-centered. They're very self-absorbed because they're the first sign of the zodiac. They haven't had anything else to, like the other signs of the zodiac have sort of got other things around them. And so they're kind of like already feeling naturally that there's more to them than just Aries. But because Aries comes first, they tend to not sort of see that there's much more around them. So teaching them to sort of be a bit more empathetic and to actually, stop and see things from other people's points of view. And the other thing with Arian energy, it's a very spontaneous and very headstrong energy. So Arians like to make decisions and act on them immediately. They're not really up to doing the due diligence or the thinking about it for a while or sleeping on it or anything like that. It has to take action immediately. And of course, that can be a really good thing because it means that you don't procrastinate and spend too much time fluffing. But, if you're making decisions immediately without too much thought, you can make the wrong decision very quickly as well. So, Arians, they have that need to come first, and they have their own individual people, very individual. So after Aries, we have Taurus. So any Taurus people with Taurus children or grandchildren?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you do, Adele. Okay. So Taurus is the first earth sign of the zodiac. So Taurian children tend to be very sensitive and quite gentle children and quite sweet. Taurian children, everybody has their own language of love. And Taurian children are the children that really often need a lot of touch. Their language of love is very sensual. And Taurian people, if any of you are Tauruses or know many Tauruses, they like to hug, they like to hold hands, they like to have arms around them. That makes them feel secure and makes them feel loved. So Taurian children, when they're little, often really need that extra little affection and that extra touching. So have you noticed that with your grandchildren, Adele, or is it one of your children?
It's my son. And he did when he was younger.
Yeah. Because a lot of Tauruses have a great need for security. So that physical feeling of being hugged or looked after makes them feel secure. And this is where what's really, I think, important with working with Taurian children is because Taurus is very driven by money. And Taurian people see security in life very much to do with how much is in their bank account, what sort of house they've got, what sort of car they drive, what their career might be. They're very driven by money. And so, it's very important to teach Taurian children that there's more to life than money, so that they don't grow up, obsessed with it or feeling like that's the only time they can be happy is when they've got lots of money or they've got all their needs met. The only true security there is in life is inner peace. And as we know, no amount of money is going to buy that. So, Taurian children, it's very important to teach them about money and to just teach them. Usually they're pretty good with money. They're Tauruses seem to have this natural understanding that if I want the finer things in life, which they usually do, they understand that they need to work for them or save up for them or put them on lay-by or whatever it is. They're not like Geminis also love the finer things in life, but they'll just go up there straight there and buy it and grab it straight away. They don't. Whereas a Taurus will understand, okay, I need to save up for this. I need to work for it. So that's a good thing to really educate Taurus children in, is how to work with money, how to make your money work for you without being obsessed by it, and to actually see there's lots of fun and things you can do in life that don't involve money that are just as good for you to involve yourself in as well. But, if you do have little Taurians around you, just do remember they do need hugs and touch quite a lot, more so than other signs of the zodiac. So after Taurus, we have Gemini. Anybody got any little Geminis? Okay. So Gemini, the first air sign of the zodiac. So Gemini people and Gemini children are very, very busy. So are you running around like headless chicken after them all the time? Yeah. Very busy kids. Not so much yours, Bonnie?
Yeah, my daughter's Gemini and she's very chilled out. Yeah, she's always busy herself though. She's always doing things herself.
Yes.
She'll be creative and yeah.
They like to keep busy. Geminis are like magpies. Anything that's shiny and exciting needs to be explored. And so one of the biggest challenges and something that's so important to teach Gemini children is to learn to finish what you start. So how many of your children have got half-finished things all over the place? Yeah? How old's your daughter, Carisha? Oh, you're just on mute.
Hi, she's 10 and she's very busy. But all of her big three are air signs. She's all air. So
right. Yeah,
it's
so lots and lots going on up here.
Yes, and very sociable and engages really well with everyone.
Yeah, and that's the gift of the Gemini. They're the ultimate communicators. You know, they've got the gift of the gab, and they can talk to anybody about anything, anytime. So that's a real talent to develop and really work on as they grow older, because it means that they can just, in any situation, they can find a way to make a conversation or to make a friend wherever they might be and whatever they're doing. But it is really important to encourage them to finish what they start.
Yes,
yes,
it takes a lot to motivate her to do anything.
Yeah, to finish it. Yeah, and it's because it's just they get bored really, really quickly. So, you know, you have to encourage them when they grow up and they're looking, or when they're getting older and looking to what career they want to have in this lifetime. It's very important that they choose careers that will offer them lots of variety. And also careers, and at school as well, they're never going to be really do that well in subjects or things that ask them to do long-term projects, you know, something you've got to work on for a whole term. The chances are they won't do that, or they'll get to the last week of the term and do it all then, because they just don't work well when things when they've got too much leeway or too much time. But if you put them under stress and give them, right, you've got to get this done in 10 minutes time and it's got to be done from start to finish, they'll do it.
One thing, going back to thinking about what they're interested in as children, she loves hairdressing and doing hair. So really I feel like that's a natural calling for her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. You know, if you can see them already enjoying something now while they're little, get them to really involve themselves in it. And this is the whole problem I feel with the education system. You know, if a child could go to school from day one learning what they're actually really interested in, you know, every child would stay at school. Everybody would get a great education. But, you know, the way they try and squeeze square pegs into round holes these days is just not working for anybody, not the teachers or the students. So the other thing I also noticed, especially with Gemini adults, is that they usually have at least 3 or 4 books by the side of their bed, all half finished. So when you start off as a child not being able to finish what you start, and you allow that to carry on into your adult years, one of the challenges with that is it can develop a sense of self-sabotage, where you actually start to believe that you're incapable of finishing anything that you start. And from there, the next step is, well, why even bother starting if I'm not going to finish it? And so it can get into a really sort of dangerous downward spiral. So do encourage your kids, you know, maybe even give them bonuses, or I don't know, some chocolate bar or something if they finish something, because, you know, it's good to get them to see that the point of finishing it. And because, you know, we get such a sense of achievement when we finish something, especially if it's a big deal, if something you worked really hard on, or if you're really creative, it's something you really enjoy doing. And when you get to that final part, it's such a good feeling. But to deny yourself that because you haven't got round to it, it is really sad for you and for whatever you're doing. Okay. So after Gemini, we have Cancer. Anybody got any Cancerian children? Yeah, you got one of those too, Bonnie. How many children do you have?
I've got 4.
You got 4. Okay, right. So, and how old's your Cancerian?
He is 14 going on 15.
Okay, so Cancerian children are extremely sensitive, very, very sensitive to personal comments, to personal criticism, to anything. And I think in the teenage years, it can get even worse than it is when they're little. So again, Cancerian children need a lot of support from their parents, because their biggest life lesson is self-love. And so they often need to be really built up by parents. So that, you know, they're the children that really need their picture hung on the fridge or on the wall, and everybody's celebrating it. They need to be built up from a young age so they can start to really develop that sense of self-love. So because of that, they can be very hard on themselves. So is your son very hard on himself?
He is really interesting. He's very, very outwardly confident. Like, he makes out that he's like so great at basketball and all that. And he is, but it's like he's overdoing it. And then if you ask him to do like a speech or something, he's so shy. And so everybody sees him as a confident person, but I know that he has this very nervous, shy energy. And it's like he's compensating with his way of being. So I forgot your question, but yeah, it resonates what you're saying.
Yeah. And they can be very moody as well, Cancerian children or Cancerian people in general, because they're so sensitive. But also Cancerians tend to absorb other people's energy. So they just, if there's a sad person in the room or an angry person in the room, often the Cancerian will absorb that energy in a subconscious way of relieving that other person of that energy so they don't have to deal with it. And it's often something they've chosen to do before they were born to help spirit. So, if Cancerian children that don't realize sometimes, do you notice that he's up and down moods-wise, especially if he's around people? Can they have a big effect on his mood?
Not really.
Okay, so he's managed to shield himself from it. That's good. But and the other thing with Cancerian, especially with the boys, because the Cancerians are so sensitive, women in general, or females in general, tend to work with emotions better than men do. And so for the Cancerian boys who are so sensitive, often their reaction to being hurt or being sensitive is to get angry. And it's just that they don't know, that's the sort of the release valve for what they're feeling, rather than trying to talk through it or cry or whatever. Of course, boys are told they can't cry, all that sort of thing as well. So it's really important that he learns to let go of what he's holding on to, of his emotional stuff. So does he talk to you, or does he talk to people, or does he keep it to himself, do you think?
No, I think he's really good at being open. He's definitely sensitive, but he's not affected by people so much. I think I don't know, I just think he's pretty happy at the moment. Like, he's a pretty happy kid at the moment. Yeah, so if he was getting in trouble, or you can see him deflate. So
Right. Yeah. So how would you say his sense of self-love is?
Well, yeah, like, it sounds amazing. Like, he's always going on about, like, he's very confident, but I'm just not sure. Yeah.
He feels to me like he's a Cancer with a Leo ascendant, where he's got this, he's very, very sensitive underneath it all and very shy and all that sort of Cancerian thing, but he's got the ascendant is how we present ourselves to the world, so he can fake it till he makes it kind of energy.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know.
Yeah. So so for him, very much encouraging him, to talk about what he feels or to write about what he feels, but to get it out rather than letting it sink in. So because Cancer is the first water sign of the zodiac, so the water signs tend to be natural conduits for spiritual energy. So it's very normal for Cancerian people to be very psychic, and so they can. He's probably already can feel into people and know what's going on for them to some degree, and it's knowing what to do with that energy can be quite difficult for kids as well. So if you can encourage him to be aware of what other people feel, but not to take it on, and to sort of understand that that's what that person's going through, so you can support them, but don't jump into it with them.
Cool,
okay. So after Cancer we have Leo. Has anyone got any Leo babies, grandbabies? Yeah. So Leo is the second fire sign of the zodiac. So, as I said, all the fire signs are the leadership signs. The Aries are it's my way or the highway. And Leo, I'll show you a really good time if you follow me. Leos are very entertaining, and especially as children. And often they can be very dramatic. Their way of expressing themselves, they're most Leos are very extroverted, very optimistic, very outgoing people, and like that as children as well. Occasionally, of course, we've got, shy people that tend to be Leos as well, but normally they're very optimistic and outgoing. That's why we see so many rock stars and celebrities out there that are Leos, that they have no problem being in the public eye. So that's something to really encourage, because Leos love to just be involved in everything. They're probably the worst thing that can happen to them is FOMO, fear of missing out is just the worst thing that can happen to a Leo. So Lucy, how old is your Leo?
Hi, my son's 21 now.
Oh, okay. So
he's the second child.
Yep.
But the rock star thing made me laugh, because I remember he did when they're children, they do a little post on the wall and they say what they want to be when they grow up, and it was rock star.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and he's a Capricorn rising, so he's more reserved, and his son's in his 8th house, so he sort of doesn't really tap into it hugely.
Yep.
But he's very well liked by his friends and quite entertaining. Doesn't like surprises is the thing I've noticed as well. Like, you get a secret Santa, and he wanted everyone to tell everyone and no one else told, but he wanted everyone to know. what everyone's will say. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Why? Did he tell you why he thought everyone should know?
I don't know. I just think he didn't like the surprise of it. He just wanted everyone, like he told, and then he wanted once he told his one, he thought everyone else was going to tell, and no one else told. So yeah.
Yeah.
But listen, I've got 1 Leo and 3 Pisces children, so it was a bit, and so he's a bit outnumbered. So,
yeah. So they'll be keeping. So with that Capricorn ascendant, he's going to come into his own later in life.
Yeah.
And be really, and probably do really well working with other people's stuff and being involved in and leading others and being that person. But so encouraging him to express himself. So is he able to? Is he good at speaking up and saying what he thinks and feels?
Actually, surprisingly, he's not. So he would be my least likely to. He couldn't speak till he was 5. So but that's probably the Mercury stuff.
Yeah. But the other senses would have become very well developed in that time.
Yes, and he had an older brother who he could communicate with without speaking, and his older brother would speak for him. So
great.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that going on.
Yeah.
So,
they've obviously been together in another lifetime to have that ability together in this lifetime.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Yeah. So with the Leos, usually they're pretty self-sufficient Leos. They're very good at looking after themselves. So you kind of don't have to worry too much about Leo kids in the sense that they might get bullied, they might get a hard time at school, things like that sometimes, but usually they're pretty self-sufficient and they won't allow those sorts of things to happen. Often they'll become the class clown, so they become the funny person in the class, so no one's going to pick on them because of that. But the worst thing you can do to a Leo, especially to a Leo child, is ignore them. Or humiliate them in any way. So, if you've got Leo children, a lot of parents, everyone's got different ways of parenting. And I think a lot of perhaps our grandparents' generation was sort of, what's the expression? I can't remember that. Spare the rod one. I can't remember the other part of it. But, they're sort of bring that we mollycoddle children too much and we need to bring them up a bit harsher. But the thing is that when you humiliate children or ignore them or sort of neglect them in any way, they grow up, believing that they don't have a lot to offer and that they're not as good as other people. So, like I said, Leos have to be included in everything. They hate to be the one that's left to one side or not involved or not picked for the team. That would be one of the worst things that could probably happen to a Leo at school, is not getting picked for the school play or not getting picked for the rugby team or whatever. They really do take it to heart if they're not recognised for what they bring to the table. So the big lesson for Leos to often learn is that they're here to do things simply because it's the right thing to do, not because of all the glory or all the money or all the prestige it's going to bring you away, but simply because this is the right thing for you to do. Okay, so after Leo, we've got Virgo. Anybody got any Virgo children? Yeah? Oh, a few Virgos. So Virgo is the energy of perfection. So Virgo children can be extremely hard on themselves. Everybody around them can see how perfect they are and how hard they work and how good they are at what they do, except for them. They're their own judge and jury, and they're constantly, especially as children, a lot of them grow out of it as they get older, but Virgo children are always comparing themselves to others. So, you can see a Virgo, you'd be able to pick a Virgo child in a childcare centre where everyone's been told to sit down and draw a picture of a house. And so the child will sit there and draw it, then he'll look at the ones next to him and go, well, mine's not as good as that, so screw it up in a ball and throw it in the bin. And it's heartbreaking, these little Virgos, they're so hard on themselves. So have you noticed that with your Virgo children? Are they hard on themselves? Yeah? What about you, Robin?
I've got two sons that are Virgos and a grandson that's a Virgo. And out of all my children, those are the two boys are the ones that keep excelling with learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They love to learn.
Yeah. They'd always have to do something, study something, keep going. And one's in their 40s and one's in their 30s. So.
Oh, wow. Well done. Yeah. So do they see that as children, because we're really focusing on children, but as children, could they see how good they were at what they did?
They were my quietest of my children. They were quite happy to just go and sit in the corner and play by themselves.
Right. And so when they had to do something, were they willing to put themselves up against others?
No.
Yeah. Because one of the big challenges with Virgo children, with Virgo energy, is it has a massive fear of failure. So Virgo kids, if they think for 1 minute they're not going to be good at something, they won't do it. They won't even try. And that's a real shame, because so often we don't learn we're good at something till we do it. looking at it and reading about it is not enough. I remember when my daughters were young, one of them had a little friend at school, and this little girl, she could win everything sports-wise, everything. She was in the top netball team, the top hockey team. This is primary school level.
Yeah.
But there was one thing that she learned by the age of 7, she could not win the cross country. So every year, as we do cross country running in New Zealand, every year when it was cross country running day, she was sick, couldn't come to school because she couldn't cope with the fact that she was going to fail, or not fail, but that she wasn't going to win. And so for Virgo energy, often there's first place and then there's losing. There's nothing underneath first place. So this is why they can be so hard on themselves and not see how good they are at what they do.
That's interesting because my daughter isn't like that at all. Like
she's
she'll
a Virgo,
give everything a go.
Good.
And she does well at everything that she does.
Does she compare herself a lot to others?
Not that much. Not that much. And if she tries out for something and she doesn't get there, she's like, oh, give it a go. And she's fine with that. But is she on the cusp? She was born on the 20th of September.
Yeah, she could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you know her exact time, we can see exactly what star sign she is, because that's where that cusp is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was born in the morning, but she was born by Caesar as well. So
that was her choice.
That was her choice.
Yeah, she had to come out at that time to get that minute exactly, so the stars would be aligned for her. Yeah. So what about a fear of failure? Does she struggle? Will she try anything?
She can get a little bit frustrated, but she doesn't lose her temper or anything. She just gets a little bit annoyed with herself, but she manages to get over it pretty quickly.
Good. How old's your daughter?
10.
10, right.
Yeah.
Gosh. Oh, good on her. That's great, because so often Virgos, they really do struggle with putting themselves out there and being the face of something or the voice of something. Because often what you might find, I think your sons sound a little bit like this, Robin, is when it comes to communicating with others, they only really want to communicate when they know what they're talking about. You know how you've got people out there and they have to put their 5 cents worth into every conversation. Virgos are the opposite. They speak up when they know what they're talking about. And then people usually listen to them because they have this energy or this air about them of being knowing, being an expert at what they're saying.
Yeah, when they know, they know.
Yeah.
And
and so Virgos, because of their incredible ability to just strive for perfection at all times, they're kind of the ultimate employees. Because if you ask a Virgo to do anything, they're actually incapable of half doing it. They don't know how to just half-heartedly do something or just give something a go. They always give 100% to what they do, which is a wonderful way to be, but with that can come a lot of stress. If they're not comfortable with themselves, if they constantly think that I've got to keep doing more, I've got to keep raising the bar and going higher and higher, it gets really hard for them. So,
they're both in management.
Yeah.
They're both in management.
Oh, good. And so is the Virgo, are they the parents of the Virgo grandchild or your Virgo grandchild?
One is, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you're the same star sign as one of your children or your partner, you're here to mirror for each other. So a lot of the things that go on between them are just sort of showing projections and mirrors between them about how it looks if you look at it from another perspective, the same thing.
Yeah, our Virgo grandchild should be at school, but my son's kept him back because he physically and mentally hasn't quite come up to where my son feels that he should be at school. But he's in Australia, so they don't have to go to the school till they're 6 anyhow. So his speech he's having speech therapy and also physiotherapy on getting his legs moving. His sister outdoes him in most things, but he tries.
Yeah. So what an interesting soul. So he's obviously come into this lifetime to have some challenges to start off with, to not have and it's amazing. So that's, his soul thinking, okay, what's it like to start a life and not be up to it with every other child and not be at the same level as every other kid, to be a little bit backward, or not backward, a little bit behind in my development. What does that look like? So good on your son for recognizing that and keeping him back and not pushing him into a situation where he was never going to be comfortable.
No, he struggles. His sister's more outgoing, but
Girls tend to be much more ready for school by 4 than boys.
I think she's ready now. She hasn't even got to 3.
Yeah, she probably. Okay, and Carisha, you had a Virgo as well?
I have 2 Virgos, a 12-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Wow.
My 12-year-old's very hard on himself, and if you tell him off in any regard, you see his soul just sort of get crushed down, and he gets really within himself. So you've got to be very, like, even if, I don't know, he knocks something over and you go, oh, Cooper, or just the look of pain on his face. He's very sensitive. Yeah. But he's good at sports, and he's quite outgoing, but thinking about it, only if he knows he's going to be good at it. If it's something that he doesn't feel confident in, he will shy away from it.
Yeah.
And he gets stomach upsets from worrying. He can worry himself that he needs to go to the toilet, and
he's processing his stress through his digestive system. And that's not healthy either.
No. And my 3-year-old's already a clean freak, so she's very tidy and organized.
That's always good at the age of 3. They usually have little time bombs. So with the boy, so he's putting a lot of pressure on himself. And I've met a lot of Virgos adults who can look back at their lives and kick themselves for the opportunity that were presented to them that they were too scared to take, or they thought they would know, and they really realize looking back, I could have done that so well. So do try and encourage them to just push through a little bit more if you can. We don't want to, I don't believe in forcing anybody to do things they don't want to do, but if there's some fun in it or something like that, then absolutely see what you can do to push them along a little bit. Okay, so after Virgo, we have Libra. So Libra is an air sign. Anybody got any Librian babies out there? You have, Bonnie? Okay, and you too, Robin. Yep. So Libra is the energy of the people pleaser. So it's interesting, most Librians, not all of them, but the majority of them are extremely easygoing. They're people pleasers. The last thing, if you imagine Libra is represented by the scales, the last thing a Librian wants to do is upset the apple cart. And so they go out of their way to keep the peace, which means they agree with everything. So one of the best things you can teach Librian children to do is to start to make choices and decisions for themselves. And they will fight that tooth and nail. They would much happier for everyone else to make the decisions for them, usually. But it's really important to be able to make decisions for yourself. It's an important part of being an adult. So the younger you can learn that it's okay for you to choose pizza when everybody else wants fish and chips, or you to choose to swim when everybody else wants to dance. That's okay. We're allowed to make those choices. But for a Librian, they're very fearful that other people might be upset, or they'll be the one that goes against the grain. Then what will happen? And so they just go under the radar far too much. And they usually, because of that, they're very good at being able to see the big picture, very good communicators. But again, they just like to go with the flow. So Robin, is your son or daughter a Librian?
It's my grandson.
Your grandson.
But he's 27. He's always gone under the radar.
Yeah. And again, a little bit like Virgo, they need to actually go pick me at some stage if they want to be picked.
No, he's very quiet, probably more introvert than anything. Never spoke up, never put his hand up for anything, never wanted to eat what everybody else ate. But yeah.
And so is he happy in life, do you think?
I would probably say no. He just runs on auto. Yeah. Okay,
he's coming up, 28 to 30 is our Saturn return, which is your first big wake-up call in life. So for everybody, some of you have worked astrology with me before, but 28 to 30, usually a major life event will happen in your life to wake you up to the fact that this is your life and you have to take responsibility for it. So he's about to step into that, which will is life-changing, And it doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be a really positive thing that happens, but it's a wake-up call.
Great. Yeah. Look forward to watching those next couple of years.
Yeah. So is he a good writer, or is he very musical?
Neither. I'm actually Libran as well, but no, I've never seen him writing stories. I've never seen him play music. He did do sports for a while.
Yep.
But hasn't done it once he sort of started working. So just stay at home.
Yeah. Oh well, he'll get there. They all have their own journey, but just good for him to know. I mean, you being a Librian, I guess can you see some of those qualities in yourself as well?
I can, but I was always a people pleaser too.
And are you still?
No, I've actually taken a step out and step backwards, and I'm me, myself, and I now.
Good.
Yeah, I'm putting myself first for the first time. So
Yeah.
I'm in my own new space
Yeah,
at
so
this
that could be
moment.
something to have a conversation with him about sometime, and just sort of say, look, talk to him about how much you've changed and how much better you feel putting yourself first than you used to feel just trying to fit in.
Yeah. I know I didn't have to fit in. I was the piece of puzzle that was never quite fitted into that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was one of those children that was sort of the missing piece, but the missing piece wasn't the right shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you found your shape now. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. And who else had a Librian child? Or you, Bonnie. So yours a people pleaser?
He's a really good kid, so possibly, but he also does what he wants.
Good.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know how to. I'd need to dive into it a bit deeper with you, I think.
So if you ask him to choose something, what should we have for dinner tonight? Will he say, oh, let's do this? Or will he go, oh, whatever?
Pretty cruisy. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty cruisy. Yeah.
Yeah. So just encouraging him, with things in life like, to make a decision, maybe choose what we're going to have for dinner once a week, just to get them into the routine that it's okay for them to be the one that's making the choice above everybody else.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then when they're adults, they feel much more comfortable being able to do that. And, if you've got something to offer and you're sitting in the background too scared to share it, then that's a real shame. Because with the air signs are all the ideas people. So they need to speak up so people can hear their ideas and make use of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have a Librian? No? Okay, so after Libra, we have Scorpio. Anyone's got any Scorpios?
Oh, me, too many kids.
Yeah, so Scorpio, the most intensely sensitive sign of the zodiac. So Scorpio people and children judge everything by how it makes them feel. So did you have a Scorpio grandson or son?
Myself, I've got a Scorpion son, I've got a Scorpion granddaughter, and I've got a Scorpion grandson.
Okay. So what I've particularly noticed with Scorpio children, especially the boys, mum has to do everything. They're extremely attached to their mothers, and in a very needy way. I've witnessed this many times with parents of Scorpio children, and dad's in there trying to help the kid tie up their shoes or get ready for school or whatever. No, mum has to do it. It has to be mum. They really are very attached to their mothers. They're quite, in very many ways, Scorpio children can be very insecure. They need a lot of love because they're so sensitive to everything that's going on around them. So the greatest life lesson for Scorpio children or Scorpio people in general, is to learn to stop and process what's going on before they react to it. Otherwise, all they do is to give a knee-jerk reaction to everything that's happening. And of course, that's not ideal at all. And the other thing with Scorpios, because they're so sensitive, they learn at a very early age not to share too much about themselves, because they figure out pretty early in life that if people know too much about me, they're going to use it against me. So I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to keep it all to myself. And of course, when we hold on to things that hurt us or that bother us in some way, they can turn into disease later in life if we just keep burying them down and not dealing with them. So one of the best things I've found that you can do for Scorpio children is once they've learnt to read or write, but even when they're just capable of drawing, is get them a diary or a journal that's lockable or that can be locked away in a box somewhere, and give them the key. And you tell them that this book that they have is where they can download or offload everything that they're feeling. So they can write down everything that's upsetting them, how much angry they might be with you, how much they hate their teacher, whatever it might be. They offload all of that, and then they release, because when we write, we release. And it allows them to let go of all that stuff that they're holding on to, but they don't have to share it with anybody. Nobody has to see it. And so that makes them feel okay, that no one's going to judge them, no one's going to make fun of them or anything like that. It's just them releasing their own feelings. So have you noticed with your Scorpios that they're quite secretive?
Oh, they're very reserved.
Yeah. And the other challenge for Scorpios is because they're so sensitive, it's very easy for them to fall into victim mentality. Poor me. Everything goes wrong in my life. I've got no choice. It's always somebody else's fault. And I notice often with Scorpio children, if they get into trouble when they're little, it's always somebody else's fault. They were either never there, or somebody made them do it, or it wasn't me, or it was always an excuse, because they're so scared that the buck might stop with them and they might be the one that really gets into trouble. So did you notice that with your children growing up?
I actually just watched it the other day because we're off to catch the Ninja Islander tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'm going down with my Scorpion son, and because one got beached a couple of days ago, and he goes, well, that'll be typical. It's all my luck. It's always how it is.
Exactly.
So yeah, once again that came, and I went, oh my God, here we go, because he always finds that. Yeah. Never been on the ferry, but one just had to, go up against the bank, and it's like, but we're going on that in 3 days. And I'm like, yeah, but we'll be fine. Yeah.
Exactly. And honestly, and it does get a bit boring after a while, doesn't it? There's always, oh, that's just what happens to me. Well, come on, pick yourself up and get on with it. What we think is what we create. So if you're going to go through life thinking you're always going to get the short end of the stick, then that's exactly what you're going to get. So change your way you look at it.
Yeah, he's in his 30s, so it's kind of
there's hope. There's still hope. 30's still young.
Yeah, that's fingers crossed.
So so just be aware with Scorpio children, and Scorpio people in general, they're so sensitive, and they can't help that. That's how they're born, and they process everything by how it makes them feel. That's how they digest things. How they make sense of things is to put them through that emotional lens and then see how it looks on the other side of that. So it's funny how with Scorpios though that they're so good at playing the victim, but all they really want is the power. And they've got to sort of learn to understand there's no power in playing the victim, so don't play that game. Step into your power instead. Okay. So after Scorpio, we have Sagittarius. Anybody got any Saggy kitties out there? Yeah, another one. Sagittarian children are great fun. They're usually very outgoing and very adventurous kids. They're very free. There's something very liberated about Sagittarian children. And again, that's the third fire sign of the zodiac. So they're the leaders as well, natural leaders. And their leadership style is very much, I know everything, so you have to do as I say. Because Sagittarian people tend to be very intelligent. And the thing with Sagittarians is that they can really struggle. Sagittarian children can really struggle at school if they're not interested in what they're being taught. If they're interested in what they're learning, they will become absolute experts at whatever it is. If they love it, they will do everything involved and fully participate in every way. If they don't like what they're learning or they're not interested in what they're learning, it's just like the switch goes off and they just cannot focus, they cannot concentrate. And so again, they can slip through the education system if they're not being taught in a way that they can relate to. But usually they're extremely intelligent. And once they do find anything they're interested in as adults, they go on to become experts in their field. They don't just dabble around with things. They go all out, become an expert. And then when they've done everything they can do, it's like, okay, that's all boring. Don't want to do that anymore. What's next? So they go into another completely different career. So, but the challenge for Sagittarian children is that they hate to be controlled. They hate to be put into a box and told what to do and told that this is the only way it can be. All of those sorts of things will really irritate them. But Sagittarius is the most controlling sign of the zodiac. So one of their big life lessons is to learn to treat other people the same way that they wish to be treated. So does that cover your Sagittarian children, Robin?
My granddaughter, she's 2.
Right.
Yeah. She's the one with the little Virgo sibling.
Oh, okay.
He just pushes him out of the way because he's a few years older than her, and she goes, I can do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah. They've got a lot of confidence. Usually they're very good at taking on anything. And so they love to travel, love to explore, love to stretch their minds in every way.
Pick the right parents.
Is she controlling yet?
Very. Yeah.
So again, you can remind her even at the age of 2, do you like people doing this to you? And see what she says. If she says no, well, then you don't do it to other people. Getting them to understand from a young age that that's, what they like is what other people like, and that's the way we should behave is a good way of going about it. Okay, anyone else have any Saggies? No? Oh, you do, Lara? Oh, you're just on mute.
Yes. Sorry, hello. Sorry, I've been an absent person.
That's okay. You came in just in time.
working away. Yes, that very much sums up my daughter. She's 11.
Right.
She's I can see she's highly intelligent and absolutely right. She already wants to become an expert, and it's wonderful. She will study and research. Like she's got bunnies. She's an expert in bunnies now.
Oh, good on her.
Yeah, and it's really lovely. It's wonderful because there'll be things in areas that I'm doubtful on, I'm not sure about, but she'll just very happily and very, you know, capably just come in and sort of just be like, yep, no, this is like this. But what you say about being in charge and wanting to be in control, absolutely, that is, yeah, I think she's got better as she's got a bit older, but I think it's still, like you say, it's going to be a thing that I almost feel like it's part of her biggest challenges in life, like learning how to be with people.
Yeah,
because that seems to be either she's with older kids and then she's happy because she slots in and she can, you know, anyway, I'm saying lots of stuff.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah, when she's with peers, then
Yeah.
she wants to be in charge, and obviously that's not
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
it's gonna
Well, you know,
work.
she probably, you know, I think for her, she's probably one of these kids who's just a bit of ahead of her time in the sense that she is on the same mental level as those older kids. So that's why she's comfortable with them. And the ones that are her own age, she knows that she's slightly more, you know, clever, a few steps ahead of them. And so she wants to be in charge of them or control them. So I think the older she gets, the more she's going to realize that where she can fit in.
Yeah, I hope so.
But just be aware with the bunnies, you know, the thing with Sagittarians is they, you know, they're fully into things and then they fully drop them. So you might end up with lots of bunnies with nobody wanting to pay any attention to them.
No, the good thing with the bunnies is I think they really help when she has tough times
Oh,
and
good.
she struggles with other people.
Yeah.
So she goes and sees the bunnies and then they're like, everything's okay. So I think it's a very invaluable tool. Not to say that they're tools, but, you know, yeah. Thank you. That's lovely.
Okay. So after Sagittarius, we have Capricorn. Anybody got any Capricorn children? Okay. And so, Kirsty, so Capricorn's the most stubborn sign of the zodiac. Capricorn, you know, people, if you know Capricorn children, so stubborn. They will dig their heels in just because they can. Just dig up my heels in. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to budge. But they and so Capricorns, the greatest life lesson often for Capricorns is trust. So one of the things with is this your son?
Jack, yeah.
Yeah. So one of it is that because they find it hard to trust in what they're good at and what they know and what they're capable of. And because of that, I've met many, many Capricorns who collect qualifications, because it's not until they've got the diploma, the degree, the PhD, and the master's that they think they're actually capable of putting whatever that is they've been learning into practice and into action. So they'll hold back on it. And because of that, they tend to come into their own later in life, because it takes them a long time to be able to actually really trust that they know enough, that they can do enough. So most Capricorns are more successful in their late 40s onwards than any other time in their life. So how old's Zach now?
Jack's 21, but of course he's got the illness and disability.
Yes. Yeah.
So as far as trying to get him to do anything for himself, super stubborn.
Right.
And I'm his slave.
Still.
And I'm
Last
thinking,
time we worked, you were working on that.
Yeah, I'm still working on that. I have a funny feeling. Don't please tell me that it's going to be right up till he's 40. Far out. God.
But I think he's just got very used to the way that you have looked after him, because you've had to.
Yeah. So I'm trying to find ways to sort of just skip out for a bit and have somebody else around him, and so that he will step up. Yeah. He sits at the computer and he's constantly learning history.
Wow.
For himself. Yeah. All the battles, he knows the different people that have been in control in different countries and different wars and different battles going back through the ages.
Wow.
I'm not quite sure how that's going to serve him in the future, but you know.
Should write a book about it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Could be a good thing to do, to comparing what's going on now to what's gone on in the past. Look at cycles of humanity and history and stuff like that could really interest him too. But you know, with his Capricorn, you know, he will. Capricorns are very driven to do well in life. They don't really want to not do well. So because of that, they often find that they're you know, they don't have the confidence to really act on things and get things done, but they're there in the background getting there all the time. So, you know, he will make sure that whatever he does extremely well. Because they don't like to, Capricorns, a little bit like Virgos, or all the earth signs really, they don't like to half do things. If they're going to do something, they do it well. But he will do it his own way. But one of the beautiful things about Capricorns is, if you can imagine, Capricorn's represented by the goat, and you know how sure-footed a goat is. A goat will always get where it needs to go. So that's the thing with Capricorns. Once they choose their destination, nothing will stop them getting there. They will trample women and children to get there if they need to. They're so driven and so focused. They'll trample their mother to get there because it's just the drive, and they don't often see what's in the way. So Cancer and Capricorn are opposites to each other, and you can really see that. They're both very driven signs of the zodiac, but the Cancerians will do it with everybody else's needs and aware of everybody else's needs, whereas Capricorns will just soldier on through, trampling everybody else's needs.
Yeah, that's the stubbornness of the goat that just keeps going and doesn't give up has actually given me comfort with him.
Yeah,
that he won't give up and he'll keep going.
Yeah. So as long as it's something really good that he's focusing on, his energy on, he won't give up until he's reached his destination or achieved what he wants to achieve, which is, they're very tenacious. They're very driven people.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's happy. So he doesn't, his life's very different to most people, but he's happy. And,
and if anything, that's what we want for our kids, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. So did anyone else have a Capricorn? Yep. And your Capricorn, stubborn too, Robin?
Yeah, I've got a daughter that's stubborn, I've got a son that's stubborn, and I've got a granddaughter that's stubborn. So it's all three Capricorns. Yep.
Right.
And my daughter's in the mid-40s, so hopefully by the end of the 40s she's would have got where she needed to go.
Yeah. Is she on a mission at the moment? Is she on a journey?
Definitely. Yep. She wants to make some life changes next year, some big ones. So
good time for her to be doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and probably my son would be the same, and my little 2-year-old granddaughter, she's just got determination and some.
Yeah, good on her. Great. Okay, so after Capricorn, we have Aquarius. Who's got Aquarian children?
Yes, I do, Deirdre.
Yes, and so does Lisa, and just the two of you there. So Aquarian children, they're the ones that dance to their own drum beat. They're here to be very, very different to everybody else. And Rata's popped in to say, what's she saying? I've got a 13-year-old daughter. So is your Rata, I'm assuming you put that in because yours is an Aquarian. So Aquarian children dance to their own drum beat. Very, very different to other kids often. And the thing with Aquarians is that because they see the world very differently to how everybody else sees it. They work things out differently. They see it differently. Everything is a different angle to how other people look at it. And because of that, they work things out differently. So if any sign of the zodiac is likely to fall through the education system as it currently sits, it would be an Aquarian. Because, for most of us, 2 + 2 = 4. For an Aquarian, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 4. So they're going to get the same result, but they need to work it out their own way. And for most of us, the education system we're in doesn't allow for that. You use the systems that they tell you to, or you've got it wrong, which of course is no way to bring up children or to educate people. So there's not enough room for Aquarians to be here. Now, Aquarian people are here to change the world. So I am a very strong believer that the children in particular that are born under the sign of Aquarius over the last 20 to 25 years or so are going to be absolutely pivotal in the changes on the earth plane. Because Aquarian people think outside the box. So they're the ones that have got the solutions that we're looking for. Because as we know, the world is a mess at the moment. And if we keep trying to fix things in the same old way, it's going to stay a mess. We need whole new systems. We need everything to change completely, 100%. And it's Aquarian people that have got the answers to this. But the problem for Aquarians is that they're so often, treated badly or feel uncomfortable themselves for being different. So they don't want to speak out. They don't want to be the face and the voice of change or of something new. In fact, Aquarian people are here to change the world, but the greatest fear of an Aquarian is change. You move the goalposts on an Aquarian, all hell lets loose. It's not a good thing to do. But so they're here. So with Aquarian children, it's really important that they learn to embrace their differences and to be happy and comfortable in the fact that they're unique. We're all unique. But, for them, they always have something a little bit special that puts them apart from others. And the more they can embrace that rather than see it as a liability, not only the happier they'll be, but the more they're going to achieve in this lifetime. So how old's your Aquarian, Tania?
My Aquarian is 32, but I also have a 5-month-old granddaughter.
Oh, gorgeous. So
Yeah.
your 32-year-old, does he dance to his own drum beat?
Oh, absolutely.
And is he
Yeah.
comfortable in doing that? Is he happy being different?
He's not a very communicative Aquarian. And I think that's part of his uniqueness too, and how he is, and of course I'm in a unique position too, because I see all of the zodiac every day in young children.
Yeah.
And that's really why I wanted to be here.
Good. Yeah, great for your work.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the Aquarians, the more they can be taught at a young age that being different is fantastic. Just embrace it. Be as weird and as quirky as you want. That we need to celebrate that in people, because if everybody was the same and everyone was all traditional and conservative, the world would be a very boring place, and nothing would get done. We wouldn't evolve out of anything. It's Aquarian people that bring all these great new exciting ideas to the table and how to make them work. So the more you can encourage your Aquarian children to just do their own thing and be the little beams of light that they are, not only the happier they'll be, but the more they're going to achieve in this lifetime.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home after this and categorize everyone.
All your students.
And how I can support them.
Yeah, and so I'll share this masterclass. So I'll share it with all of you anyway, and I'll put it up on my YouTube channel. And so maybe your other teachers might want to look at it just to get a bit more insight into the other kids as well, and anyone else who works with children. And so, Lisa, how old's your Aquarian?
He's 19.
He's 19, and is he comfortable in his own skin?
He's getting there. Yeah, he's
I've noticed the boys struggle with it more than the girls. Girls, to some degree, we're okay with being a bit different most of the time, but boys tend to be more sheep-like. They don't like to stand out for the wrong reasons.
At a very young age, it always used to be, I'm not doing that, that's weird. And I just, my motto was, well, we're all a bit weird. So the sooner we come to the fact that we're all a bit weird, we're a bit quirky, we're all a bit different. And so he's embracing himself.
Good, great. And how is he with change?
Well, we've moved a lot. So he's lived in 5 different countries. So I think that helped because he's had to. And we've, moving is, as much as it's challenging, I'm always, my motto is there's positives and negatives with everything. So it depends where we put our attention and where our energy. But so he's actually, it has been a struggle in the past, but now he had an opportunity. I think he embraces new opportunities. And I know if he's had a couple recently and he's just gone boots and all. So it's been, fantastic.
And Aquarians are often, tend to often observe more than get involved in things. So you might often find them, they're just on the sidelines watching and observing what's going on. One of the brilliant things I particularly like about most Aquarians is they don't buy into drama. They don't get why anyone wants to make a big song and dance about something. They're quite happy to be completely disconnected from all that rubbish and just observe it from the outside and just come to their own conclusions. So any other people with Aquarian children here? No? Okay, so after Aquarian, we had the final sign of the zodiac, which is Pisces. So who's got any Piscean children? Lots of Pisces out there. So you 3 or something, didn't you say, Lucy? Yeah, that's a lot of Pisces. How far apart are they all?
So one's 26, one is 19, and one is 16.
Right.
So very, and my mother's a Pisces, so I feel like
you've got a lot to learn from Pisces then.
I needed to learn a lot from Pisces, and I'm Taurus, very Taurus energy.
So no wonder.
So I don't have much water in my chart, so I get all these watery energy people around me.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so, I can't quite go to the depths they can go, but
yeah. So with the Piscean children, Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac. So Piscean people and Piscean children in particular can be very much a little bit like Librians, where they can be fence sitters. They usually are very gifted and talented, usually creatively in some way, but they're very much, yeah, I'll get around to doing something with that one day. I know I'm good at that, but for now I'm just going to sit here and enjoy myself and get along with everybody and have a good time. So they're not nearly as driven as they could be, considering the gifts and talents that they bring with them. So, you know, their biggest challenge often for Pisceans is to learn to be present, because most Piscean, you know, Pisces is the most spiritual sign of the zodiac. So it's very, very normal for Piscean people to be in what we call la la land, or what I call la la land. You know, they're the children at school that have been constantly told to pay attention, stop daydreaming, stop drawing pictures on your book when you're supposed to be doing maths, because they're just off in their own world. For a Piscean, especially the children, what's going on in here is a million times more interesting than what's going on in front of them. So they will always revert back to their own thoughts, to their own, you know, their own mind and imagination. So, yeah. So so your Piscean children, Lucy, were they in their own heads a lot of the time?
Yeah, probably. I just think it's quite interesting because my older girl, the 19-year-old, she's a swim teacher.
Oh, right.
And she's the one with a lot of planets in Pisces as well. And that's up in her 9th and 10th house of career. So I thought it's quite interesting with that Pisces energy. She's really lent into it.
Yeah. Because I mean, Pisces, if their career needs to be involved caring in some way. Because Pisces energy is the energy of people who serve. The Virgos serve and the Pisceans serve, but they serve for different reasons. So, you know, being able to look after children and give them the gift, teach them the gift of swimming would be, you know, absolutely a Piscean trait. They'd love to do that. Yeah. So do you notice that all three of them like to serve, like to do things to help other people or to...
Yeah, so the oldest one leans into the Neptune energy. So he's a cocktail waiter, like a... which is the Neptune side of things.
Yeah, the creative, bringing some creativity.
And the younger one, she's very good at, she does teaching and holiday programs, and she loves serving, helping kids again. So there's lots of service, more so, and the Leo doesn't have that energy. My Leo child doesn't do, there's no service, it's about himself.
Oh, absolutely. Leos, they should all have t-shirts saying it's all about me written on them.
Yeah, where the Pisces is about how they can help other people.
Yeah.
And they will look out for each other more.
Yeah. But you've got, so one of the things with Pisceans is actually teaching them that they don't always have to be looking after other people. That it's actually okay to put themselves first and just go and do what they want. That's
the challenge I have with three of them, is they'll help other people, and I have to remind them it's about them sometimes too, and focus on helping themselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, you know, in spiritual work, you know, the first lesson I remember always being told this, the most important lesson in spirituality is that there is nobody in the world more important than you. You have to put yourself first, because you came here to have a life, to walk a path. And so you've got to do that. And, you know, what often happens is we spend our time, especially once we become parents and things, so concerned with the well-being of our children and of the people around us that we forget about ourselves. So, you know, with Saturn and Pisces at the moment, it's a big reminder to people, what do you want? What do you want for you? Or are you going to be so busy all your life, you know, looking after everybody else that you never stop to think, what do I want for me?
Yeah, they tend to, some of them, two of them particularly, tend to do the rescuer. They like to rescue, or they like to be rescued. So they do the Pisces energy of, but they more lean into who can I help? Who can I help? So they're like those vulnerable people. Yeah.
They've got huge hearts, you know, and very, most Pisces are born mediums as well. Very normal for Piscean children to see or hear dead people. And of course, often it'll freak them out when they're little, and so they'll shut it down, and then it'll come back hopefully when they're older. They'll allow it back in when they're older and be more open to it then.
Well, one of them, she said to me as a kid that she was a turtle. She used to be a turtle.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting past life.
She used to bite people. And I was like, okay. Because I remember swimming around, and I was like, okay. The Leo would never have said that. But the that Pisces was very in tune with what she's seen before.
Wow, interesting. So anybody else got a Pisces child? So Kirsty, what's your Pisces child?
It's my youngest boy he turned 18. Alex turned 18 in March. Yeah. And
so does he like to serve and do things for others?
He does, and he's probably in his element there. He's really struggling at the moment. But he's in his element if he's doing something that he loves. and showing little kids at the same time and trying to help them. So like when he was 14, he taught himself to do flipping. Like he can run down the street and do a back, flip and all sorts of things. And he loves the trampoline parks and the scooter parks, and there's often little kids in those places. Yeah. So and he's creative too. So creative with taking videos of doing things and then adding music and all of that. But
oh wow.
Yeah, he's really in a place of not knowing what to do with himself at the moment. So he's
I think that it's probably very common, I would imagine, for Pisces, probably above maybe most of the signs of the zodiac, to have that not knowing what am I going to do with my life, because they're just, they find it very difficult to be present because so much is going on up here. So they're kind of constantly distracted by their own imagination, their own thoughts, and by spirit. And so, being present and actually, so that's the grounding himself and actually being here in the moment is something that he kind of, if he can get into a practice of doing something every day that makes him feel here, solid, connected, present, he can actually get on with his day better.
Yeah, that's the going to the skate park and doing the flips and things on his scooter and being in his body and doing the physical stuff. But when it's raining and he can't do that, he just doesn't know what to do with himself. So he's got anxiety, he's got like depression going on. He just doesn't know. And
tricky age.
He's at that age where everybody's like, you need to get a job now. And he's like, he looks out there to see what there is, and none of it matches what he's got going on, because it's huge heart. And so this reality is like, you're 18 now, you go and get a job. And he's like, ugh. And so he's struggling. He's got this battle at the moment. He doesn't know what to do with himself, and everything that's suggested to him doesn't feel good.
So he needs to try and find some, make a life or a business or whatever out of what he's loving doing, like working with kids, teaching them those backflips, doing all of that, or joining some sort of holiday program or something like that.
Yes. Where he's living at the moment, there's not a lot there. So I get that he needs to move, but he's also got a little Scorpio girlfriend.
He wants them to stay home.
Well, possibly that might be what he's tapping into. So they're in Palmerston at the moment, and we're up in Auckland now, Gulf Harbour, and he actually wants to come up, but he doesn't want to leave her, and she doesn't want to leave there, and like it's big struggles.
And Saturn's in Pisces at the moment, and Saturn's the big teaching planet, the big disciplinarian, and so most Pisceans will be having a bit of a hard time with Saturn in their sign at this time. And it's about encouraging them and making them realize that if we want to do anything in life, there must be a plan. There has to be structure. We can't just wing life. We can't just think, oh, I'm going to do this today and I'm going to do that tomorrow, and it's all going to be fine. It's all going to be worked out, because it's we have to have a plan, and it's not necessarily a plan, but there must be a foundation or a structure to work from.
Yeah, exactly. Because if he plans to go to the skate park and then the weather's bad, he's thrown out, and he just
there's got to be a plan B.
Plan
and
B.
he's a creative boy, so he needs to start looking, okay, when it's wet, what do I do with my creative energy?
Yeah. He just won't hear anything at the moment.
No, probably not because you're his mother, but he might hear it from someone else. Because kids and mothers, we were the same with our parents.
Yeah, true that.
Okay. Thanks, Maggie. So who else had a Piscean? It was Robin. You had one? Oh.
Yeah, I've got a son, 46.
Okay. And is he present?
In what respect?
Well, does he spend a lot of time off in La La Land, or is he, present and functional and structured and organised?
Oh, he'd like to be.
He'd like to be.
But he's not. He has a plan, and the plan changes, and then he has another plan, and the plan changes, and
yeah.
Again, so another one going through some changes as well.
Yeah, and as I said, with Saturn in his sign, it is a bit of a time for him to, really realise that you've got to have a plan, you've got to have a structure. You can't just wing things and expect things to fall into place all the time.
Well, he'd like that very much so.
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah. Yeah. And as for being in La La Land, he's probably the only one of my children that he doesn't do that woo stuff.
Oh, okay.
That's not, no, he's always been, since he was probably a teenager, he was very anti to it.
I wonder if
No
something gave him a
crystals, no
fright.
incense. Yeah, I don't know. He never said anything. He just says, I'm not that sort of person.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it could have been he could have had, being a Pisces, he could have many past lives as in religious areas where spirituality wasn't acceptable. It needed to be much more structured or have a lot more rules than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Kayleen, you have a Piscean daughter, don't you? Is it she?
I do, yeah. And I'm a Pisces as well. So
right.
Yeah.
And so do you recognise those traits in her and in yourself?
I do. She is probably a cusp baby in that she's born on the 20th of March as well.
Okay.
But, we're both rescuers and definitely have that serve other people and care for other people without putting ourselves first. So
Something to work on. Are you better at that now than you used to be?
Over probably since I've turned 50. I'm in the 50-year bracket. It's all about me now, and I'm doing lots of work on myself. So it's just
Okay. Oh, thanks, Robin.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other Piscean babies, children out there? No, that's it. Great. So that was all the different signs of the zodiac. So the other thing I'd just like to talk about before we wind up is that you choose your life before you're born, and the moon placement, your moon placement or your children's moon placement tells us or tells you why you chose your mother. So whatever sign of the zodiac your children's moon is sitting in is the reason they chose you to be their mother. So, of course, we don't know that until we look at their charts. But if any of you know your own chart and know where your own natal moon sits, well, that will be why you chose the type of mother that you chose to teach you all about. And so when we're choosing our parents before we're born, we're either choosing them to be exactly what we want to be like when we grow up or the exact opposite. We don't usually choose our parents for anything wishy-washy, sort of in between. It's usually, this is exactly what I want to be, or my goodness, I'm not going to be like that when I grow up. This is very polarizing. And Saturn, the planet Saturn in our charts, is our choice in father, and why we chose exactly the same reasons, but the planet Saturn rather than the moon for the male figure in our lives. So what else have we got to say? So so as I said earlier, what children do in their play is a very good indication of what they're here to be or do as adults as they grow up. So it's, if you do have younger children and you want to help them and develop them along the lines that they seem to want to go down, then just be aware of what makes them happy. What do they like playing with the most? What do they, and how do they, when you're watching them play, do they look like they're really engrossed in and really enjoying it? And often you'll find that things come really easily to them as well, because your soul remembers every lifetime it's ever had. There's certainly skills and talents that we've developed in every lifetime that your soul will remember. So you will all not recognize that there's things that you've learned in this lifetime that came to you so easily. It was just so easy to learn, and other things that you've really struggled to get your head around. And the ones that you're struggling with are things that you've never been exposed to before. So your soul's got nothing to work with. It's got no background to call on. But the things that come easily to you is because, I've done this before. I know how this works. I mean, a good example of that for a lot of people would be driving a car. Most people can get in a car and it's not that hard to learn. And other people could have had many lifetimes of never ever driving a car. And for them, it's very difficult to learn how to do that. So when we're watching and observing our children, it's really good to see them, what they're doing and how they're doing it, and how we can develop that further in some way if that's what makes them happy. So is there anything anybody would like to ask me about children and astrology? I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Yeah, Carisha.
I'm just going back to the moon sign being the purpose for selection. So both of my girls have Aquarius moons. So I'm just found that interesting. So there's obviously something from me that I have to actualize for them with like an Aquarius.
Yeah, so that they've chosen you to show them that it's okay to be different, to be alternative, to dance to your own drumbeat, to do things differently to the way other mothers do. So do you think you do things differently to other mums?
Very
Good.
differently.
Well, then that
And
goes
my
well.
son's a Sagittarius moon too. So I feel like that fits in as well too. I'm very much about him allowing himself to be an individual and express himself his way.
And you're would you consider yourself to be adventurous and outgoing?
Very adventurous, outgoing, outdoorsy.
And a leader?
And a leader, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he needed from you, to see, what does that look like? Do I want to be like that when I look like mum is, like how she is, or do I not want to be like our mum is?
Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else know their children's moon sign that they want to pop in and I can interpret it? Lucy? Yeah.
So with the 4 children, 2 of them have the same moon sign. 2 have a Sagittarius moon, and they both have a Capricorn rising.
Oh, right.
But then they're not both Pisces. One's Pisces and one's Leo sun.
Right. So is their father Capricorn?
Their father's a Sagittarius.
Sagittarius, right. Because it's
He's
quite common often.
late Sagittarius though, so he probably has
okay.
a lot of planets in Capricorn, I'd say.
Yeah. So, you know, what the kids with their moon and Sagittarius have chosen you to show them to be adventurous, to be outgoing, to be a leader, but also, and the same with you, Carisha, to show what it looks like to be an expert in your field, to work really hard at something so you know that you are fully educated in that area so that you can then share that information with other people. So they sort of see you, I would say they've chosen you for the intelligence factor and the leadership, the pushing yourself to be somebody in this lifetime energy.
And one of them's a Leo moon.
Leo moon. So the Leo moon, it's the drama queen placement.
That's
what I always call it.
Yeah, and I'm because I've got lots of Taurus planets, I find the drama's quite overwhelming for me.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Maybe I'm the drama to her. I don't know.
Yeah, well, your inability to buy into her drama probably annoys her no end.
It does.
Yeah, so you know, because I've always see it as the drama queen placement, because you know, well, I think you, from your email address, you do a bit of astrology yourself, Lucy. So you know, when you put the energy of extroversion into the moon, you have no choice but to express what you feel. You can't hold it back, and that's that moon in Leo, is that they have to express everything they're feeling. And good or bad, it just comes flying out. But what you find is that as children, they can throw the biggest temper tantrums and also be the most entertaining children there are. And as they get older, they realize that that's not ideal way to be quite so dramatic all the time, that, you know, as a child, you can get away with it, but as an adult, you know, it looks silly. And so they grow out of it and realize that there's other ways that you can get your way without throwing a big patty about it.
She's fun, that one, I've noticed. And she used to have the biggest meltdowns, but I've noticed she taps into the Leo energy. That's the one that teaches children.
Oh, yeah.
So she likes the limelight on her with kids looking at her and things like that.
Yes, yeah, because Leos love to be admired. They love nothing more than to be the center of attention for the right reasons. Yeah, and so she would have, you know, so it sounds like with the Sagittarian moons and the Leo moons, all of your children have chosen you to see what leadership looks like.
The other one though is which is the challenging one I had when the first child I had very young, so I was only 17, and he's got a Scorpio moon.
Ooh. So Scorpio moons often see their mother as a goddess when they're younger.
Okay.
She who can do no wrong. And so you can fall from a very high pedestal with that placement.
Yeah, that's the sort of relationship it has been.
Yeah. And that's all he's doing. He put you up there. You didn't ask to be put up there. So he's got to come to terms with the fact that, no, you're not perfect, but you're still his mother and you're a good person. But you know, you're not going to be up on that pedestal, because nobody wants to be up there, except Leo, perhaps. Most of us don't. Yeah. Okay. So any other questions? Anybody else know their moons of their children they'd like some insight into? This time. So as I said to you in the email that I sent with this, is I am offering, you know, if you want to have a reading done for one of your children, I'm happy to throw in a half-hour reading for you as well, so you can know how you can work with that child, or be part of the reading as well. Or if you've got other children, we can do a report for one of the others as well, and we'll pop that into the deal too. So I'm just keeping this open for a couple of weeks. So, you know, just email me if you'd like to take advantage of that. And thank you all very much for being here today. And I will, thanks to you all, upload this to my YouTube channel, and I'll let you all know when it's up and send you the link, so you've got it to look at and listen to again if you want to, or share around with anybody else who might be interested in learning more about children too. So thank you all very much for being here.
Thank you, Deirdre.
Okay. See you
I'll
all
be
again.
picking up these sessions.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
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 Bye.